Okay. Welcome everybody to the Clovis Planning Commission meeting for June 24th. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in the meeting by accessing through the City of Clovis website. They can provide written comments at the same website, participating by phone, or coming to the Planning Commission meeting in person now. If I could call the meeting to order. I'd like to have a flag salute led by Amy Hatcher.
You guys can please stand and join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could have roll call, please.
Commissioner Antuna?
Here.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Here.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Here.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Here.
Chair Hinkle?
Here. Okay, if we could move to approval of the minutes for the May 27th, 2021 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Hatcher, second by Commissioner Antuna to approve the minutes for May 27th, 2021. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Is there any comments from the Commission Secretary?
None.
Any from the Planning Commission? See none. Is there any business from the floor? This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on any matter that is not listed on the agenda. See none on the floor. Is there any online?
There's none.
Okay. We'll move to the public hearing portion of the meeting tonight. Item 2 on the agenda, consider items associated with approximately 3.54 acres of land located near the northeast corner of Shaw and Locan Avenues. Clovis Christian Church, property owner, DeYoung Properties applicant, Quadnoff Scott Zayer, representative. Items to consider tonight is item A, is a general plan amendment 2021-002, a request to amend the general plan to redesignate approximately 3.5 acres from the public, quasi-public facility classification to the medium-density residential classification. B, item B is consider approval for R 2021-005, a request to rezone approximately 3.5 acres from the PF Public Facility Zone District to the R1 Single Family Residential 6,000 square foot zone district. Item C is consider approval of tract map 6349, a request to approve a vesting tentative tract map for a 17-lot single-family subdivision on approximately 3.5 acres of land. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. As indicated, the applicant is proposing the development of a 17-lot single-family residential development on about 3.5 acres of property that's situated to the north of Shaw Avenue and east of Locan Avenue. The project site is currently a portion of the overall about 9.5 acre site that is owned and operated by Clovis Christian Church. The church itself was established under Fresno County's jurisdiction back in 1988. And in 2006, the site was annexed into the city's limits. At that time, it was appropriate to designate and zone this site as public facilities, as churches are permitted use within the public facilities land use designation and zone district. In 2015, a conditional use permit was approved allowing the use of modular buildings for the church site, and that is really when the point in time when staff had a glimpse into what the church had planned in terms of possible expansion into the rest of their project and into the rest of their site. That being said, and since then, the church has decided that they will not need to expand into this area, therefore is in the process or probably could have completed the transfer and sale of the project site to D. Young, who is our applicant here this evening. And in addition to that, there was a recent parcel map that was approved splitting the project site from the rest of the church site. Again, this development proposes a 17-lot subdivision. This request will require that the land use is redesignated as well as zone district, and of course approval of the vesting tentative tract map. As I briefly indicated earlier, the property is currently designated under public, quasi-public facilities. With this GPA, the applicant is requesting to redesignate that land use to a medium-density residential designation, which allows for residential development at a density of 4.1 to 7 dwelling units to the acre. You'll see in the exhibit, or actually before that, the development itself has a density proposed at 4.8 dwelling units to the acre, which falls in at the lower end of the medium density range. The exhibit displayed here shows properties surrounding the project site, and you'll see that the project site is primarily surrounded by low and medium density residential developments. So this request to redesignate to the medium density residential designation is fairly consistent with what's in its vicinity. In addition to that, the applicant is requesting that the property is rezoned from the PF, or Public Facilities Zone District, to the R1, Single Family Residential Zone District. We'd like to kind of think of our R1 Zone District as our standard single family zone district, in that you have standard minimum 6,000 square foot lots, our standard setbacks, including 20-foot front yard, rear yard setbacks, and then your 5-foot side yard setbacks. Again, you'll see on the map here that the property is surrounded by R1 7500 development. The tract map itself will subdivide the 3.5-acre site into 17 individual lots. Lots will range from the minimum 6,000 square feet to the largest, which is 11,109 square feet. The project also proposes a standard local cul-de-sac street with an overall public right-of-way width of 50 feet. And the road itself will be, from curb to curb, would be a width of 36 feet, which allows for ample parking on both sides of the street. And then standard 5-foot sidewalks will be provided on both sides. In regards to enclosure and fencing, there's an existing block wall along the south property line from tract 6260. That developer will also be required to provide a masonry block wall that is consistent to tract 6260 on the north and east and west property lines as well. So as I indicated, our applicant here tonight is D. Young, and represented by Brandon D. Young. And I did mention also tract 6260, which is a D. Young development, and they're currently wrapping up and completing that development there. This proposed tract will pretty much emulate tract 6260 in terms of the product and the development standards. So again, more compatibility and consistency to what is in the area. Sorry, I'll go ahead and go back. So staff concluded that the request is consistent with the general plan's policies and goals, and that it's providing additional housing within the city's identified growth areas. Of course, this is the Loma Vista area, especially as an infill development. The development also will provide housing opportunities for those that work in Clovis. So within a 2 to 3 mile radius of this project site are several schools. A couple miles to the north is Clovis Community Hospital. And as Commission is aware, we recently approved a pretty large commercial development about half a mile to the east of this, the marketplace at Shaw and Leonard. So housing stock is of importance in this area. Again, as an infill development, this project will provide housing on an otherwise unused portion of land that the church, has no plans on expanding into. And the parcel is physically suitable for this type of development and the intensity of development that's being proposed. An analysis was conducted and concluded that the project will not be detrimental to city services as well as public health. With that being said, staff is recommending that Commission approves GPA 2021-002, rezone 2021-005, and track map 6349, all subject to their associated conditions of approval, which was provided in staff's report as an attachment. This concludes my report, and I am open for questions.
Questions for staff?
Lily, we spoke earlier this week about the zoning, the PF zoning. Initially, as I recall, the city designated the PF zoning the preferred zone for the arena overlay, the regional housing needs allotment overlay. Let me get you on record that we say that it is no longer a part of the overlay.
Well, with approval of the project, it would no longer be a part of the overlay. But yes, you are correct, Commissioner Cunningham. The project site is identified as PF Site 7 in the city's Cycle 4 arena inventory, and so it also was determined that SB 330 or the no net loss clause doesn't apply to our Cycle 4 inventory. So as the inventory drops off, as sites are dropped off the inventory, it does not need to be replaced. So this project really won't impact our inventory.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, applicant would like to speak upon this?
Good evening, Commission. Commissioners, thank you very much for having me this evening. We are very excited to bring this project to the community. We believe it is a win-win for the entire community. I'm Brandon DeYoung with DeYoung Properties. Thank you for the nod. Our family's been building homes for 3 generations now, and my 2 siblings and I are the 3rd generation, and are starting to kind of take on more of the company. And so this is one of the communities that we're most excited about. As staff mentioned, this is immediately adjacent to Track 6260, what we call Legacy Square. Was an amazing community. We're just finishing it out right now, and all the homeowners, home buyers are extremely excited, and this would be a perfect continuation. As I was mentioning, it's a perfect win-win for our company, for the community, to further the need, take care of the needs of housing that we really need desperately. And to take over some land that would otherwise be unused, as was also mentioned by the church next door. So win-win for them as well. Also, as mentioned, the homes we plan on building and the lot sizes are perfectly consistent with the community right next to it that we're building. So the same beautiful homes, good-sized lots, and very consistent with generally what's surrounding it. So frankly, this is one of the probably most straightforward communities we've designed recently. So just like I said, win-win all around, and happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Do you agree with what the considerations that the city has put before you to approve this?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right, no other questions? I will move to the general public. For those that are in favor of this project, would like to say something? See none in-house. Is there any online?
None online.
Anybody who would like to speak in opposition? See none in-house. Any online?
None.
Okay, bring it back to the commission. Any more discussion? Any discussion you want to do on this?
No, I think this is a great product. We're going to finally develop that portion that's been vacant for quite some time. I like that you offer the option of multi-generational homes, which have become somewhat of a need now in the last several years. And I'm very excited that we're adding to our inventory because, as you know, it's a seller's market right now and there's no inventory. So I'm excited to see new homes, and I also appreciate that you are building multi-level homes in a sense that different demographic and income levels will be able to afford those homes that you're building there. So good product. So I absolutely support it.
Similar to Commissioner Altuna, I think this is a good project. I in particularly like the mix of lot sizes. I know we see a lot of smaller lots come before us at times, but this looks like a good blend, and as the illustrations here show, it conforms to the area, so I'm in support.
I have a question. Is it in the last few things, the developments that we've approved, we've required or requested that there be paved access from the driveway to the totes. So we've had some of the developers do that. I think it's something that's just going to make things easier overall in the future. And I'd like to see this added to this project as one of the considerations.
Yes, that can definitely be done with your motion to add the condition.
Okay. And the modular classrooms, how close are they to this project that the church was going to put in or is putting in?
That application actually was in 2015, so it's been a little bit. The modular classrooms are already existing. They are actually located quite a bit of ways from this development. It's right behind the existing church building, pretty much, right to the east of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's some distance.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, we'll move for a motion on item A, the general plan amendment.
I'll move that we approve GPA 2021-002 with the modifications. I guess we do that in the track map, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, so scratch that. Just, I move that we approve GPA 2021-002.
I will second that.
Call for vote.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Bedstead to approve GPA 2021-002. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item B, rezone 2021-005.
I'll move that we approve R 2021-005.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and second by Commissioner Bedstead to approve rezone 2021-005. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item C, track map 6349.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve track map 6349 with the addition of the requirement that the pathway wide enough for access to totes be included as part of the paved portion. That sounds about right.
That'll work.
I'm sure Ms. Chow will find appropriate wording.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cunningham and seconded by Commissioner Bedstead to approve tentative track map 6349 and adding a condition to Exhibit A of the track map for a paved pathway on the side of the garage for the toters. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes. Chair
Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item 3 on the agenda. Consider items associated with approximately 2.71 acres of land located near the southeast corner of Sierra Vista Parkway and Shaw Avenue. 777 Hospitality, Inc., DBA Courtyard by Marriott owners, Taryn Tandri, 777 Hospitality applicant. Item A, consider approval for General Plan Amendment 2021-001, a request to amend the general plan to redesignate approximately 2.71 acres of the Office O planned land use classification to the general commercial planned land use classification. Item B, consider approval of rezone request of 2021-004, a request to rezone approximately 2.71 acres from the CP Administrative Professional Office Zone District to the C2 Commercial Community Zone District. Item C, consider approval of Conditional Use Permit 2017-015A, a request to modify the conditional use permit for the existing hotel to allow for sales of beer, wine, and hard liquor within the restaurant inside the hotel. Staff?
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair Hinkle. As mentioned, for your consideration tonight is a general plan amendment, a rezone, and a CUP amendment. The subject property was previously reviewed and approved for a hotel, which is operating as a Courtyard by Marriott on the south side of Shaw, in between Sanford and Sierra Vista Parkway on a parcel approximately 2.7 acres in size. Immediately to the north and generally to the west is the PCC Zone District, which is Planned Commercial Center and includes the Sierra Vista Mall. Immediately east, west, and south is the CP Zone District, which is what the subject property is currently zoned. The entitlements for your consideration this evening only pertain to the subject property, and there is no site work being proposed beyond what was already approved with the hotel in 2018. The entitlements for your consideration are a general plan amendment, which requests to amend the land use designation from O to the GC land use designation. A rezone application, which requests to amend the subject property from the CP zone district to the C2 zone district. And a conditional use permit, which requests to amend the previously approved conditional use permit to add the sales of beer, wine, and hard liquor to the operations of the hotel. This is table LU3 from the general plan, which governs the land use designations and their compatible zoning districts. Currently, the subject property is zoned CP with the O land use designation, which allows for on-site consumption of beer and wine, but it does not permit beer, wine, and hard liquor for on-site consumption. This is what triggered the applicant's request to rezone to the C2 zone district, which does permit beer, wine, and hard liquor for on-site consumption, while also maintaining the commercial character of that area of Shaw. In order to rezone to the C2 zone district, the applicant also has to amend the land use designation to GC in order for the zoning and land use designation to be compatible. These requests stem from wanting to maintain the brand and operational standards of all of the other courtyards that allow for the inclusion of hard liquor at their on-site restaurants. The actual CUP amendment would add the sale of the beer, wine, and hard liquor to the hotel's operations. So the CUP amendment is required because the alcohol use is a matter of land use. The alcohol use is a matter of land use regulation, but the authority of approving the ABC license actually falls with Clovis PD, who has reviewed and conditioned the project. This project would be required to comply with all of those conditions, as well as any requirements imposed by the ABC. These conditions and requirements have been incorporated into the project's conditions of approval. The restaurant itself is located on the first floor of the hotel. It is proposing to operate daily and is anticipated to primarily serve hotel guests. There is no room service being proposed. Any food or alcohol must be purchased at the restaurant. There is an outdoor patio, however, there is no outdoor service, so again, all patrons would have to come inside and order any food and drink at the restaurant. Staff was able to make all of the required findings for all three of the listed applications, which were included in the staff report. Because of that, staff recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval of GPA 2021-001 and rezone 2021-004 to the City Council, and that the Planning Commission approves CUP 2017-015A. That concludes my presentation. Both staff and the applicant are available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
First of all, Kelsey, it was a very comprehensive presentation. Thank you. I have two questions. First of all, this is a new facility. It hasn't even opened yet to the public, has it?
That is correct. It's currently under construction.
I'm curious as to why this wasn't requested at the time that they were getting ready to build. I mean, why are we waiting this far into it to determine that we needed an addition or a GPA amendment?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different circumstances that may have happened. I think what probably happened was because beer and wine was permitted in this zone district, it was overlooked that hard liquor was not. And it's the type 47, which is beer, wine, and distilled spirits, which is on brand for the Courtyard Hotel.
Okay. And I presume that the track map limit for on and off sale alcohol hasn't been, the upper limit hasn't been reached yet.
Can you repeat that? Are you talking about?
The track map, as I understand it, only so many licenses are allowed within a track map, both on sale and off sale. And what I'm asking is, we haven't hit the maximum yet in this track map. Is that correct?
That is correct. The project was reviewed by the police department, who were supportive of responsible alcohol licensees if they were to comply with all of their conditions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, I'll open it to the applicant if they'd like to speak on this.
Good evening, Council. I'm Taryn Tondi with 777 Hospitality, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
We have none. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to open the discussion for those that are in favor of this project. See none in-house. Is there any online?
None.
Okay, we'll open it for those that are in opposition. See none in chambers. Is there any online?
None online.
Okay, we'll bring it back to commissioners for discussion. Further discussion on anything here? Okay, see none, we'll go to item A of number 3 on the agenda. For General Plan Amendment 2021-001, a request to amend the general plan to redesignate approximately 2.71 acres from the office planned land use classification to the general commercial planned land use classification.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hatcher and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve General Plan Amendment 2021-001. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, we'll move to item B, rezone 2021-004.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hatcher and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve rezone 2021-004. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item C, conditional use permit 2017-015A.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hatcher and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve conditional use permit 2017-015A. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Moving to item 4 on the agenda, conditional use permit 2021-005, a request to allow a 6,770 square foot electronic fulfillment facility in an existing commercial center located at 300 West Shaw Avenue, units 113117. Brown and Associates, Clovis LLC, owner Sophia Ferrara, DoorDash Essentials LLC, applicant. Staff?
Good evening, Commissioners. Before you is the 4th item on tonight's agenda, conditional use permit 2021-005. The project is located on the southeast corner of West Shaw Avenue and Peach Avenue. The project site is located within the C2 Community Commercial Zone District. The proposed facility would operate in a 6,700 square foot space within the existing commercial shopping center. Staff recently received clarification from ABC and outside counsel regarding specific standards for the Type 21 alcohol license. These standards conflict with a Clovis PD condition prohibiting on-site sale of alcohol. A revised condition has been recommended as outlined in the supplemental memo. As you can see, above is the original condition submitted by PD, and then below is the revised condition that staff has included in the memo. To continue, the project consists of a 24-hour electronic fulfillment facility. The facility is considered a new use and was adopted under Development Code Update OA 2020-002. This Dash Mart facility will have 15 to 25 employees. 2 to 6 employees are anticipated to be on site at all times. Approximately 5 dashers will be on site throughout the day to pick up orders for delivery. Parking is provided within the shopping center. The project is accessible by 3 points of access along Peach Avenue and West Shaw Avenue. This Dash Mart facility will stock groceries and household items. DoorDash anticipates 150 to 300 orders per day. The Dash Mart will operate 24 hours per day. Pickup orders will be restricted during 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Inventory deliveries are anticipated to occur during 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Excuse the 10 p.m. on the PowerPoint presentation. Deliveries are expected to occur 10 times per week. Before you is the floor plan for the electronic fulfillment facility. The majority of the space will be used as a warehouse. Customers and dashers will have access through the front door of the building. Inventory deliveries would be made through the rear entrance. Staff recommends the Planning Commission consider approval for Conditional Use Permit 2021-005. Staff is available for any questions.
Questions for staff?
I have a question. So is this being modeled similar to, I mean, we don't have anything similar, but is it being modeled like a convenience store, sort of, with delivery options?
So customers would only be allowed to make purchases through the app. So customers would make an order through the app. They could choose to pick up that order, or they can choose to have that order delivered to a separate location.
So they would stock the items similar to what you see now at restaurants. They bag them, and someone just comes in by and picks them up.
Correct, yes.
Do we have any other 24-hour businesses in that area?
I know there's a CVS nearby that is 24 hours.
And I did read the report that there didn't seem to be traffic concerns.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would consider that possibly there could be some concern in the sense that for the other businesses surrounding, and if you have, I think they said they were going to have 10 deliveries a week.
Yes, so 10 inventory
So
deliveries.
10 deliveries a week, and they anticipate having about 300, max, about 300 sales a day. Is that what you cited?
Correct.
So that means either a dasher or a person's coming there about 300 a day. So, but there were no concerns for the other businesses surrounding this then?
At this time, that's been staff's interpretation. If it becomes an issue, we can take a second look at the impact this project has on traffic.
Okay. Yeah, so I think on that point too, so in one of the earlier slides, the applicant anticipates that at any given time, there'd be about 5 to 6 dashers there. So even though it sounds like a lot, it is distributed throughout the day. I mean, there's certainly going to be peak hours and, peak times, of course. That particular shopping center does have shared and reciprocal parking agreements, so we don't anticipate it to be an issue in terms of the traffic flow and the business model that they have.
Thank you.
Ricky, I have a question, follow-up for that. Do we know if the actual tenants of that facility were made aware it was going to be a DoorDash versus management? Because I know we've had that problem in the past, where it goes out to somebody who owns the building in a different city or state.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, typical of what our code requires is that we notify the property owner. Obviously, in this one, the property owner was involved because, they're the one who signed the lease with DoorDash, but it really depends on how they notify their other tenants. So in terms of what our policy requires, we notify the property owner, and then it's, their responsibility to how they want to filter that out to their individual tenants.
Okay. I know we kind of addressed that after with the whole Vaughn's parking lot with the coffee shop. So I wasn't sure if we had made any internal changes as to how we notify or if we follow up at all. So that was my...
Yeah, we haven't at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I have one more follow-up. So do we, and forgive me if it's in here, with a lot of stuff to consume this time, if they stated their peak hours of operation?
And I believe the applicant's on line too. If, Sophie, if you can hear me, in terms of the other locations that you have in California, do you have a general peak hour time?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. Thanks so much for having us this evening. I'm Sophie, our representative from the DoorDash team. I can answer that question directly. Our peak hours tend to be a little bit later in the evening, typically starting around 7 p.m., going a little bit later till around 10 p.m.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, open this portion up to the applicant if you'd like to say something.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much. As I just mentioned, my name is Sophie, and thank you very much, commissioners, for having us. I apologize for not being able to be there in person, but welcome the opportunity to speak with you via this WebEx meeting. The DoorDash Essentials team is really excited to join the Clovis community with this new type of business model, delivering convenience items to local customers, hiring top local talent, and partnering with local merchants and dashers in the community. We're here to be good neighbors and really look forward to cultivating an excellent relationship with the community. I'm really happy to answer any questions that you may have about this operation and welcome any thoughts and feedback.
Any questions for applicant?
One quick one. In driving, I drove the facility yesterday, and around the back, I take it you've seen the facility and around the outside, Sophie?
Yes.
Okay. When I drove to the delivery side, the south side, there was a semi-truck delivering to another business there, I presume. It made almost impassable when they were, unless they are up against the fence that is on the south border of the property. And I'm just curious, what size of delivery vehicles do you anticipate will be at your business?
Yeah, so I can absolutely speak to that. We have the ability to partner with our vendors and designate preferred or restricted truck sizes. So deliveries across these facilities can range between small vans for some of the more local merchants with small deliveries to a standard box truck, which tends to be between 36 and 48 feet, and occasionally a full 53-foot tractor trailer. But those requirements and restrictions are usually informed by the local operations team in direct partnership with those vendors who are being scheduled to make deliveries throughout the week. So since we haven't set up any of our vendor deliveries here yet, we aren't yet operating, we have the opportunity to have those conversations up front and make sure that we are partnering with vendors and setting up those restrictions in a way that doesn't negatively impact the nearby area or other tenants.
Okay, so you've anticipated that, I take it.
Yeah, and these facilities, we have a couple across California and other states as well. Every facility is a little bit different, and our vendors are made up of large national chains and local merchants. And so it's been our vendors have been pretty amenable to these types of restrictions when we need to ask for them to be followed.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question for you. We were given a revised memo stating that Clovis Police Department will only support this project if there is no in-person alcohol pickup. And it appears that the ABC type license that you're seeking to have has a restriction where that needs to be allowed. So kind of sounds like it's a little bit of an impasse. So I guess my question is, are you moving forward with this project knowing that the possibility of not being able to sell alcohol is a possibility?
Yes, I can certainly take the first answer here and then would welcome any additional input from Melanie, who is also on the line with me. We are excited to move forward. We recognize that we have received that feedback from the police department, and it doesn't block our interest in this site. We would like to still be a part of the Clovis community. So, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
And hi there. You've got Melanie Johns on the line. I'm outside alcohol counsel for the DoorDash team, and I just wanted to make a quick comment there that yes, that's true. We have hit a little bit of an impasse, and that's largely because the ABC's requirements for having an off-sale license conflict with the police department's requirements. So the ABC has a rule. It's called Rule 27, which requires that that any Type 20 or Type 21 license, which are the off-sale beer and wine or off-sale beer, wine, and distilled spirits licenses, that they be open to the public in at least some limited capacity, so that somebody can walk in for an in-person sale. And we're aware that the police department was requesting a condition that that would have prohibited in-person sales. So it essentially would have barred the applicant from submitting an application. So we're hoping to work with the police department and to further put some restrictions in place, perhaps for that in-person component that's required for a retail license, that would give them some comfort. And we're just starting those conversations. So hoping to revisit it down the road, but for right now it's been tabled.
Thank you.
Would it be possible to have the police department make a comment on their standing?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ken Wells with Clovis PD. What we ran into is the area's oversaturation. There's an allotment for 6 for the state of California. Currently, we're at 9. We've had other businesses that have tried to come in and wanted public convenience and necessity letters and to obtain new licensing, and we haven't allowed it. We were going to condition this business so that they could do delivery service, which is their primary function, it sounds like, from their business model. And using that area as a hub or a base, and then going out to different areas of the city, was something that was agreeable to the chief of police and seemed to make sense for us. We were unaware of this Rule 27, which apparently, having talked to Alcohol Beverage Control about it, is not a widely known problem or rule. It doesn't come up as a big conflict and something we weren't aware of. But with Rule 27, they have to sell to walk-in customers. So they can't get their license without that. So we can't condition that component of it. We would have to allow them to come in. And with the oversaturation of that area, we're unwilling to support another license.
Questions?
Yes, Corporal. As to the number of, I assume these are Type 21 licenses that are 9 in the track map?
They're all off-sale licenses, either Type 20s, beer and wine, or Type 21, beer, wine, and spirits.
Okay. And if suddenly this Rule 27 went away, would the police department still be in opposition of the alcohol component to this business because of the number of already existing?
It was a compromise we were willing to make if there was no walk-up service. If this was simply a hub for delivery that was going out to other areas of the city, we would support it. But we didn't want to support essentially another mini-mart liquor store in that area.
Right, okay. So if this Rule 27 can be addressed, however, between ABC and the business owner, then the police department would be okay with what they're proposing?
Unless there were some changes made, and I don't know what type of time frame we're talking about, but as of right now today, this was agreeable to the chief of police, was that if there's no on-site sales, then we would support the license.
Okay, thank you.
I don't do any home delivery, so I'm not sure. Bonds or Stamart, if anybody else delivers alcohol or spirits, do we have any other problems, or have we had problems in the past with delivery services of alcohol? Because to me, that just seems kind of sketchy to have another 21-year-old delivering. There's no kind of checks and balances in my mind.
It is problematic, especially with the reducing of the ABC laws due to COVID, which I understand most of those are coming to an end. There was more delivery of alcohol going on, including some of the takeout services where you never could in the past get a non-sealed container of alcohol and walk away with it. I don't know if that's answering your question exactly, but it is lawful, but not a lot of people do it because of some of those liability issues. That business that supplies the alcohol to the delivery driver is responsible for what the delivery driver does, and a lot don't want to take on that liability, or honestly probably shouldn't. If the driver delivers that product to someone who most likely scenario is someone under 21, then it's a problem for the business and their ABC license.
But we haven't seen any influx or any problems so far with Clovis PD going to calls or having any sort of situation where you've noticed that delivery of alcohol has been going to minors?
I'm unaware of it being a problem. I do know that Alcohol Beverage Control has done sting details where they've had delivery drivers bring alcohol, and they have in fact delivered to decoys under 21. So it's happened on their operations, but I'm not aware of any calls for service where we've had it.
Okay, thank you.
So just for clarification, is the police department is not in favor of allowing this until there are changes or acceptability from the ABC. Is that correct?
If there was a way around ABC Rule 27 so that we could allow them to have a license there without selling from that location, then we are agreeable to it. The other option would be they buy another license or pick an area that's not oversaturated that isn't as problematic for us for off-sale alcohol sales.
Okay, so basically until ABC makes some type of adjustment, and Clovis PD is not in favor of saying, okay, do this.
That's correct. We are unwilling to support another off-sale license in that census tract.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that was clarified. Okay, thank you very much. If there's no more questions. Okay, open up to anybody in the chamber that would like to speak in favor of this. Anybody online?
None.
Okay, is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition? see none in the chamber. Is there any online?
None online.
Okay, bring it back to the commissioners. Discussion upon the CPU 2021-005. Discussion on this. Okay, then we'll open it up for a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve CUP 2021 TAC 005.
I'll second with the condition of the new number 22.
Thank you, with the revised condition of approval for number 22.
Okay, discussion on this motion to make sure that we have it correctly.
Would you like me to remake the
No,
motion?
no, I just want to make sure everybody understands so that
I'm
it's...
sorry, just so I can get it correctly, who seconded the? Okay.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Bedstead and seconded by Commissioner Hatcher to approve conditional use permit 2021-005 with the revised condition number 22 under Exhibit A as presented in tonight's memo to the Planning Commission. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item 5 on the agenda. Consider items associated with 2.75 acres of property located south of Shaw Avenue, east of Highway 168 for the construction of a gas station and convenience store with a Type 21 beer, wine, and distilled spirits, alcoholic beverage control license, and 2 drive-through uses. Stephen G. Sanders, trustee of Steve G.S. Sanders Trust owner, Randall Mathis, applicant and representative. Item A, as a conditional use permit 2020-0080 request for a conditional use permit allowing for the construction of a gas station and 4,500 square foot convenience store with a Type 21 alcoholic beverage control license. Item B is a conditional use permit 2021-003, a request for a conditional use permit allowing for the construction of a future drive-through use. And item C is conditional use permit 2021-004, a request for a conditional use permit allowing for the construction of a future drive-through use. Staff?
Good evening, Chair Engel, members of the Commission. So the project site you see here is approximately 2.75 acres of a larger, of a greater site. Currently, there's existing RV sales you may be familiar with. The RV sales would cease prior to construction and operation of the project. So again, the applicant is seeking approval for 3 conditional use permits, one of them for the gas station convenience store and the other 2 for future drive-through uses, which the users at this time are unknown. If you recall, CUP 2020-008 was actually brought before the Planning Commission earlier this year with a request to continue the item while they fleshed out the other 2 CUPs and kind of wanted to bring it back all as one cohesive project. If approved, the applicant will continue with the site plan review process. So CUP 2020-008 for the gas station and convenience store would include 6 pumps or 12 fueling stations. That one would include a request for a Type 21 ABC license. The ABC license will be transferred from another location within that same census tract, resulting in no net increase to the licenses within the area. So as Officer Wells just said, there's 6 allowed, there's currently 9. In this particular case, there's been a condition added that if PD is going to support the 21, it has to be transferred from within that same census tract, so there would still just be as it is today with 9. They are requesting up to 24-hour per day, 7-day-a-week per operation for the CUP. And again, if approved, the existing structure where the RV sales are occurring would be demolished. So CUP 2021-003 and 004 are 2 separate drive-through uses. I have a site plan and a future slide that I'll show you, but one of them includes a dual drive-through aisle for stacking. Again, the users are unknown at this time, so they're kind of just trying to hit general requirements that we have in our code. And then if needed, if there's a high user, like I think we know some of the high user drive-throughs, like Chick-fil-A kind of things, we did condition it that planning department could request a CUP amendment to kind of address and make sure that there's adequate stacking in those lanes once we know who the user is. So as it relates to circulation and parking, the site would function as kind of a cohesive center, if you will. They would have a requirement for reciprocal access and parking agreement so that it's shared across the different sites and uses there. There are 2 access points along Shaw Avenue, including a deceleration lane that would allow vehicles to safely move out of the way from traffic traveling eastbound so that they can safely turn onto the site, which I'll show you on the site plan in the coming slide. The circulation pattern was designed to accommodate vehicles safely and efficiently from Shaw Avenue. Again, on the site plan that I'll show you, there's the deceleration lane, and then you'll see on one of the drive-through uses, there's only a one-way access. That way it just prevents any kind of conflicts or points of conflicts as vehicles are entering the site. As it relates to Winery Avenue, which is the southernmost, it's where it's a cul-de-sac now, there is currently a driveway there, a drive access. That would only be for emergency vehicles. The commercial traffic going to and from the site for the drive-throughs and the convenience store would not be permitted access on that back site, primarily because it's residential south of that area.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ricky, just while you mentioned I want to bring it up, is the access on that cul-de-sac currently, that is not gated, is it?
I don't believe it's currently gated at the moment.
So there is access, I mean, they can come onto the property from the cul-de-sac.
They can.
That would not be the case if we approve that, this conditional use tonight. That would not be the case. We would have fencing and gate to prohibit except for emergency vehicle access.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes. So for the parking requirement, they would be required to provide 5.4 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Based on that metric, 53 parking spaces would be required across the site, and their site plan, which they've submitted already to be processed concurrently, is showing 75 spaces. So they are currently exceeding what the requirement would be. So this is the site plan here. The bluish purple that you see up there would be the convenience store and the fuel canopy shown there. One of the drive-throughs would be kind of centrally located in the site, and then the other drive-through would be on the westernmost side. I wanted to put up some red arrows here just so you can kind of indicate the circulation pattern of the drive-through so you can see it a little more clearly. As I mentioned earlier, the drive-through on the westernmost edge of the site would have a dual drive-through lane. You've probably seen that kind of drive-through lane like at a McDonald's or something. So, but again, if a high volume user does come in the future, or they want to come in and make any changes to the operations that are being proposed as these under these CUPs, then they would have to come back for a CUP amendment. So these are just some conceptual elevations. The top photo that you see up there would be for the gas station and convenience store, and then the other 2 would be for the drive-throughs. Again, they are going to have a common theme, so it's going to look like a cohesive design. It's not going to be, a bunch of hodgepodge designs for the different uses there. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission consider approval of CUP 2020-008, CUP 2021-003, and CUP 2021-004. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions, and I know the applicant is here as well to address any questions that you may have.
Questions for staff?
Yeah, Ricky, the comments that we received from the public today talks about, towards the bottom of the second page, that no one had served their particular board of directors or owner of the property any notice. Did you guys get anything other than this from the property owners surrounding this?
We did not. I did look at the location map, and the property owners within that particular development were noticed. So this particular gentleman didn't get a notice. I don't know why that would have happened, but
Okay.
that particular complex was noticed.
And then on the original, site plan, is there any plans as yet to do anything with the, I guess it would be the southern portion?
There are no plans at this time,
Not yet.
nothing being
So
proposed.
that will just be, because that's still currently the RV, right? Is that gonna be vacated as well?
Yeah, that'll be vacated back there, so there's currently nothing planned for that particular site. As part of this project, they're gonna do a series of lot line adjustments to kind of create its own separate parcel. So if and when, you know, somebody purchases it or wants to develop it, there may or may not need to be a conditional use permit unless they put something permitted by right there.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions for staff?
Yes, Ricky, I have another question. Going back to the high volume drive-through or tenant possible, are there concerns, like we have, I think there's only 2 points of, entry, basically, egress or is it ingress and egress? I think there's only 2, and it's coming right off 168. At any point that I've been on getting off, I actually avoid getting off 168 on Shaw because it's just always just a nightmare in that little section.
Right.
So I have high concerns that stacking is going to be a problem. I'll go with Chick-fil-A since you mentioned Chick-fil-A. I'm sure you've seen their drive-throughs are insane at all times. No matter what time you go, it's always insane. So I guess I have some concerns of what that's going to look like coming off 168 to make an immediate right turn. Now there's going to be a gas station and 2 drive-throughs. Does the city have concerns that there's going to be some stacking there?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, this is where a deceleration lane would be. So if you're traveling eastbound, this was partly designed to accommodate any potential queuing. Also, it's kind of hard to see on here, but there's a median, this little strip right here. And what this does is it prevents vehicles from immediately trying to take a left here and potentially having to stop or slow down. So if you're going to the gas station, you actually have to come down a little bit further. The purpose of that is to prevent vehicles from having to, you know, stop and make quick decisions. They can get onto the site as far as possible. We did work really closely with the applicant and their traffic engineer. This drive aisle right here actually used to be 2 ways where you could actually come out and then go in, but we worked with them to you know, with traffic in mind, to create a one-way access here. That way you don't have vehicles trying to stop and come out here. So we really try to limit any kind of conflicts in this particular area to get people off of Shaw Avenue as quickly and safely and efficiently as possible.
So, say I'm a customer and I'm going to come over there to the pink area. I definitely would buy for Chick-fil-A, so let's say that's Chick-fil-A. How would I enter, and is there, I guess, like you said, it sounded like there was some type of mitigation measures put in place to make sure people are going the right direction. But I would enter and then...
You would enter here, and you could potentially go this way if this were that high volume user, or you could come all the way down here and come up this way and kind of go around. So.
Okay.
And again, some of this, you know, could change again depending on who the user is. If we get somebody that we know is extremely high volume, it may result in the site plan needing to be amended to figure out what the queuing is going to be.
Okay.
But absent of any user, it's really what we're reviewing for is that it meets our minimum requirement for drive-throughs, which it will. So it's, you know, we kind of have to just wait and see what comes.
Okay, thank you.
Brought up something in my mind here. What we're approving tonight, in essence, is a conditional use permit to allow the building of those other 2 structures besides the mini mart, let's say.
That's correct. So each one is basically a separate, complete separate entitlement.
So for argument's sake, if that building C, that franchise like Chick-fil-A wanted to come in, we still have, they still have to go with us through a site plan review, or are they allowed to just come in and build?
Well, yeah, so as part of this, we conditioned in there that if we determine that there's a high volume user, we could require some kind of CUP amendment or site plan review amendment. As part of this, the applicant is doing kind of a master site plan in essence that would look like this or very similar to this. And if a high volume user came in that were going to necessitate, different modifications to accommodate queuing, then they would have to do a site plan review amendment and or CUP amendment.
I'd like to see something like that only because right now we're approving carte blanche on the other two buildings. We don't know what's going to go in there yet.
Correct.
But yet we understand for facilitation that we want to approve all three. But I would still personally want to retain some say in who went in those other two buildings.
Okay.
That makes sense, or?
It does. I'm kind of looking to Wes here. I don't know how we would word that in a way that we have a say necessarily on who would go there, more so than how to make it safely operate. So, for example, if a particular user comes in, the one we were using, I don't know that we would necessarily say, oh, because you're that business, you can't come in. It would be more that we would require some kind of CUP or SPR amendment to make sure that it adequately.
I think the city attorney would like to get involved in this.
I'll generally agree with what Ricky just said, that the type of user that could operate a facility within that use is, as long as those requirements or qualifications are met, then without anything more such as a specific impact that the Planning Commission would then have an interest in mitigating, it wouldn't be a distinction allowable to the Planning Commission to say, yes, this fast food drive-through type business is okay, but this fast food drive-through business is not okay, absent some distinction between the two that would result in some impact or effect that then the Planning Commission would have an interest in mitigating, such as high volume traffic or queuing.
Correct. I guess that's really what I was getting at. I have a concern myself in approving a proposal that I don't know the full ramifications thereof. We're asked to approve a convenience store, a fueling area for the convenience store, and then two other buildings that we don't know what, are they restricted to strictly retail, or they can come up with other issues? I guess it's the uncertainty of what I'm have a concern with. So I'd like to
understand.
Retain some way of saying, that wasn't the intent of our Planning Commission to allow this to come in.
Could we, could we ask that once a particular business is contracted, that we have the opportunity to review the plans for that business on how do they meet what we expect?
Commissioners, if you refer to page 174 in your packages, at the bottom of that page is condition number 21. And Ricky referred to this condition earlier, and you may have already noticed it, but I want to call attention to it specifically. And we've incorporated this condition into a couple of projects that are similar to this, where there's a possibility that high volume or non-standard drive-throughs come in, and this is the placeholder condition, which requires another evaluation if, not to pick on Chick-fil-A, because everybody loves Chick-fil-A, but there are a handful of these high volume drive-throughs that we're all very familiar with, that the standard 13 vehicle stacking just wouldn't be adequate for, and this condition is what we have come up with as a sort of a level of insurance to allow us to come back and require some additional stacking.
I have a follow-up.
Okay. Sure. Any other questions?
The conditional use permit states that it's either a food or a beverage drive-through, right? It's limited to either something food or something beverage?
Yeah, I think that's their intent, is to
Okay.
have it at some
Yeah.
kind of fast food type facility.
Okay, thank you.
And for what it's worth, we've, if you recall the Human Bean coffee kiosk along Shaw about a year and a half ago now, they kind of did a similar thing where they came in with their actual kiosk for the coffee because that was their main project, but then they also had another kind of generic CUP, if you will, for future drive-through use. So we have allowed it in the past.
I just wanted to comment. I'm listening to the discussion here, and I guess in kind of the problem-solving, brainstorming mode a bit, but I recall the Dutch Brothers that we approved on Fowler and Herndon a while back, and I know personally I had some concerns about potential stacking on Fowler, and I think the collective body here was worried about will people even understand the protocol of how to stage behind the Tractor Supply and the Vons, et cetera, and we were assured, yes, over time people will learn that, but coming out maybe not so much. But we also had the access ways through the drive aisles, and I recall Dutch Brothers indicating that they have folks in their business with vests and others, essentially traffic marshalers, that would help govern that traffic. So I similarly kind of share in Commissioner Cunningham's sentiment of, we don't know necessarily what will come in, and so these businesses may offer, or we may be able to condition that they will help govern some of the traffic within their standing operations. And so I guess just for the sake of discussion, that may be a amendment that we could make if we agree to these CUPs, that when said businesses come forward to occupy these spaces, that they would be subject to providing traffic control within some set criteria, i.e. whatever the staging lanes are and the stacking queues outside of those staging lanes. So some of you may know how to word some of that better than I, but I'm trying to field the discussion here, and that came to mind. I guess I want to kind of step back a little, changing gears a bit. Ricky, Shaw Avenue. I mean, obviously, we got the freeway right there. There's a series of lights. I can recall countless times coming out of there, and I guess I'm looking again for that additional assurance that we're not going to create a mess right there with a lot of traffic coming out onto Shaw.
I don't know if it helps. We do have the traffic engineer here from the applicant. Jose, I don't know if you'd like to come up and maybe address the traffic concern.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jose Benavides. I'm with JLV Traffic Engineering. Our business address is 516 West Shaw, Suite 103, Fresno, California. We did complete a trip generation and a qualitative queuing analysis for this project. So we took into account the 2 fast food restaurants, the 12 fueling positions with the convenience market, and we used the generally accepted practice to determine the amount of traffic that would arrive during a peak period using peak hour factors. So, and the highest volumes during the PM peak, which was 219 vehicles per hour. And when we take into account a peak hour factor, that increases to about 238, which would be about 5 vehicles a minute. So that is one of the reasons why we recommended that right turn lane, and so did city staff. And the storage capacity that they're able to accommodate would, for all intents and purposes, accommodate the demand We can't say forever because, you know, sometimes things happen, but for the most part, it's going to accommodate that. We also recommended other changes within the site plan. One of them is widening some of the driveways so they can enter a little bit easier. Previously, the entrance for the first driveway allowed eastbound traffic sort of parallel to Shaw. We recommended against that because we wanted to make sure that as people enter, they can go as far south without hitting any conflicts of opposing traffic. So we want to make sure they can come in, and to come out from especially from the fast food restaurants, we wanted them to start way at the southern end to minimize some of that queuing that would take place so close to Shaw. So that's one of the reasons why you see that change. And relates to the Mini Mart gasoline station, those will fluctuate based on what could take place, for example, at Fresno State or the Save Mart Center. So during those event periods, we didn't necessarily study an event period, and we know that takes place in that area. But unless you have any other particular specific questions, I may answer.
I appreciate you walking through that. Thank you.
Okay.
I have one. So the deceleration lane that you're gonna add is a separate lane. If cars got stacked up in that lane, how many cars can fit before they actually start to go into the flow of traffic?
I don't have the length memorized. Do you have the length? No. Let me take a look. Yeah. So right now it's about 3 vehicles, but that's also the reason why when you come in, we didn't want any potential conflict. So that's why there's also a divider so that the traffic can continue further south and not stop so close to the intersection. That was the main concern. And by not having cross traffic there, that will help that. So that's why there's the median. I think the median recommendation may have came from the civil engineer or the city of Clovis staff, so I'm not going to take credit for that, but it's a good idea. But the elimination of the eastbound connection from the west side of the project, we did recommend that, and that was because we wanted to ensure that we can get as many vehicles in as far south as possible before they start turning and hitting cross traffic. So it's 3 vehicles, but it's generally that's gonna more than suffice.
So then, Ricky, question for you. Those 2 entrances exist now?
Yeah, there's 2 driveways on this property right now.
So we're not adding any drive, we're just using what's currently there. It's anticipating a lot more traffic.
Yeah, they would be modified, widened a little bit, and I think shifted a little bit to the east,
Yeah,
but there's
so
still only 2.
They are being shifted a little bit and also widened.
Okay.
And also the style of this entrance, this is what you would call a street type approach entrance. So you're able to enter a little bit easier versus a typical standard driveway.
Any other questions? Okay, if we can move to the applicant.
Thank you, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Randall Mathias. I reside at 4665 East Copper Avenue here in Clovis, California. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to bring the project forward. It's taken us a little bit of time. I'd like to thank staff, both planning and engineering. We've had about a year working together on the design in order to make this an aesthetically pleasing entry point into the city of Clovis. Today, as the site exists, you have an RV sales lot and then a vacant lot, and so that could be viewed as somewhat of a sore spot as you enter from Fresno into Clovis, or you're traveling on 168 and you want to come into our community. We kind of view the Shaw Business Corridor kind of, I like what we call it the Avenue. And so hopefully the project will be a highlight for the city. We've spent a lot of time on access into the site because we are proximate to the ramp.
So the two driveways that exist today and are being moved to the east are to accommodate things like people coming off the ramp or merging over and wanting to access the site. So the right turn-in pocket is just the beginning of that mitigation. The median that Jose spoke of, that allows traffic, a lot of stacking once you enter into the site, and I think it will just take a matter of time once the site is built out. I think consumers, they become acclimated to circulation, and they'll come to know that if I want to go into the middle QSR, if that in fact does become a drive-through fast food, they're going to come all the way into the site because that's where you're easily enter right-hand turn into that drive lane. Likewise, if we put a QSR on the western boundary, you're more probable to go ahead and come in the one-way right-hand turn, and I think it does alleviate the stacking concern that you had, Commissioner. You saw our elevations, and we've done our best to fit within what I've seen in our community. I think I took the best with our architect and engineer team. We've taken the best of what we've seen come through in the last 20 years, and I hope that measures up. And I'm here now for questions or other comments.
Questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Appreciate your support and your time. Thank you.
Okay, open it up for those that are in support of this project. See none in the chamber. Is there any online?
None.
Okay, for those in opposition. See none in the chamber. Is there any online?
None.
Okay, bring it back to the commissioners. Staff, we're just approving these buildings, B and C, actually everything. We're just approving them. Their actual location of B and C could be altered. Is that correct?
That's correct. And again, they are moving forward with a site plan review, depending on your decision tonight, which would essentially memorialize the buildings as you see there. But again, that could change.
Because we could move those buildings further south to give more stacking. Is that correct? And take a little bit of pressure off those coming in?
If needed, possibly. But we'd have to make sure that, the drive aisles and stuff are still adequate. Because right where you see, for example, building C, the kind of pink magenta looking color, there has to be the 26 feet backup. So depending on how far that gets pushed south, there may have to be some reworking.
You could push it south and still get around it and move the parking that's there to the north.
Yeah, potentially.
Yes.
Sure.
So we could look at those. Those could be options to address the type of business that is going to be going in there and what type of business they anticipate.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
So we have room. What I'm trying to say is we have room to modify things to accept any problem or try to keep from creating problems down the road.
Yes.
Okay. It's not written in stone. It's just there for us to work with.
There would be options.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. We'll move to item A, conditional use permit 2020-008.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on item A? See none, we'll call for the vote.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hatcher and second by Commissioner Cunningham to approve conditional use permit 2020-008. Commissioner Antuna.
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead.
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
Chair Hinkle.
Yes. Move to item B, conditional use permit 2021-003.
So I just want to revisit the discussion on that. What are your thoughts with regard to trying to create a condition that won't necessarily prohibit a certain type of business from coming in there as discussed, but allow or require, I should say, said business to provide some sort of traffic support, based on criteria. And again, I'm playing back some of the concerns that were posed earlier.
The concerns that I voiced, seem to be addressed to my satisfaction under the item 21 in the attachment A that Mr. Merchant brought up. As much as we can, I don't think we as a governmental body can say, you know, you can have an In-N-Out, but not a Chick-fil-A or something like of that nature. So, and I would personally want to see that the applicant has as much latitude as we can give them to do what they need to do. But the 21 satisfies me for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I concur with that. I guess, like I said, the only thought was, I don't know that it hurts us to necessarily have that in there as well, that, you know, if, like, similar to the Dutch Brothers, we were never requiring them to have anyone out there until the spillover was potentially creating a traffic hazard or something to that effect, so.
I agree. I don't think it would be bad. In fact, I think it would be something we might want to look at having as a regular condition going forward, because they obviously need it at Dutch Brothers. And for a side note, they needed it In-N-Out. So I think it would be a good idea, especially given how much fast food has increased. We should look at something like that. Whether we need to add it here, I guess that would be up to staff, but I don't think it's a bad idea.
For clarification, Commissioner Betstead, what you'd like to motion is adding a condition, not limiting the type of business that would go in. In fact, I think it provides more support to a business that's coming in the sense that all we're stating is, if you bring in a high-volume business that's going to create additional traffic, that business would be responsible for governing the people in the drive-through, meaning, yeah, similar to Dutch Bros and similar to what In-N-Out does and at most high volume fast food places. Is that what you're stating?
That is exactly what I'm stating. Okay. I, as Commissioner Cunningham stated, I do not wish to limit any type of business coming in. In fact, I think that's one of the best things we offer is being able to invite lots of new things and new businesses to the city of Clovis. But I do think, and I think even I would ask city staff maybe to consider, you know, we don't want to create undue burden on these businesses, right? It's expensive, margins can be tight. We're not trying to be bureaucrats necessarily, but I think from my perspective, we have a duty to also make sure that traffic flows, things aren't impeding other people's rights of travel. And again, I guess I'm searching for the right language, so I would, you know, even offer up to city staff or the city attorney just to help us with framing, you know, and I guess my stab at it would be, once they've exceeded the thresholds or the standards for the staging lanes in the drive-through, and you've got kind of what I'd call spillover, that's the point where it starts becoming at risk. People just will tend to do their own thing. Whatever feels good, looks good, that's what I'm going to do to position myself to get in line. And that may not flow with the spirit of what we were after when we are sitting here tonight making this motion and potentially approving the project.
If I might, looking at condition number 21, and I'll invite city planner and the city attorney to look at it with me. The second sentence currently reads, for any drive-through use identified by the city as being high-volume drive-through, additional queuing capacity will be required based on specific characteristics of the proposed use and location configuration of the drive-through lanes. I would suggest an addition be added after for, well, additional queuing capacity or other mitigating measures will be required based on specific characteristics. Would that fulfill what you would be interested in?
I could agree with that. I mean, I think, again, I'm not trying to be ultra prescriptive about what it is. I don't necessarily have preference of it always necessarily being a person in this particular colored jacket. I know, for example, there's opportunities to paint lines on the ground. There's other measures to, we've got flashing lights, we've got an array of things that can help guide. And I think the term mitigating is appropriate here. That's all we're trying to do is mitigate any unforeseen circumstances.
Could I ask the applicant, do you have anything you'd like to say on this?
I think the city attorney would want to speak here.
Well, we'll listen to him and then.
Okay. I like the point that you're making, because I don't think anyone wants to be involved in a development that creates undue traffic burden. The only thought I had, it's the way that you define those circumstances. So how you define that threshold is somewhat critical, because it gives a retail user an idea as they come in and they step into an approved conditional use permit. They may alter the building pad slightly. So yes, we might modify the site plan. But the conditional use permit would allow them to serve fast food with that drive aisle. So if the threshold can be designed at when it's exceeded, that the other mitigation measures might be imposed by the city, such as self-traffic control by the end user, then I think that would be fair. It's just defining the threshold that concerns me. And I think you're close, Commissioner Cunningham. Between the combination of the two of you, you're almost there. It's what is it that we're exceeding, Ricky or Dave?
Well, I think in the first sentence of 21, it kind of indicates accommodate at least 5 waiting vehicles and at least 8 waiting vehicles between the menu board and the drive-up window. If it exceeds that, that would seem to fit my definition of a high-volume drive-through. And then the city can require additional queuing capacity or other mitigations to that.
Right. Such as self-traffic control. Because I think you suggested, I think that's a great idea, and that is what the other end users do.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the most obvious one. But again, I'm wanting to create something that's flexible.
Yeah.
I always say, as I sit here, we get smarter as we go. So the things we're doing today might evolve, and we may be able to do something different tomorrow. So again,
and what that
really
means,
just discussion here. Yeah.
And what that means then, if it's other mitigation measures, that's incumbent upon the retail user to work with staff to satisfy.
Oh.
And if that doesn't work, to come back and they can do some more. Okay.
Yeah, and we, often ask city staff, we obviously you'll go to site plan review and there's a great deal of flexibility there. We're obviously all trusting and confident in the city staff that they're going to help shepherd and do the right thing in those processes as well. So that's why I say I don't think I need to be ultra prescriptive, but I think we need some kind of boundary here. And frankly, as we're just having the dialogue tonight, I think it would be prudent to have kind of as a go-forward measure. But.
So you're looking then, so your motion will be amended to include some language on condition 21, somewhat the way you...
That's currently what we're looking at.
Right.
We still have more discussion on it.
Good. Okay. Thank you for giving me a chance to walk back up. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments and feedback.
My reading of the current condition 21, that second sentence, it specifically addresses capacity, which would be a physical aspect, something that could be considered to add to address non-physical changes. All of this seems to be in the realm of traffic control. And so I would simply propose that if you were to make an addition or include an additional element in that condition, it would be something as simple as traffic control measures. Something that is specific in that we all understand what it is and what you're intending to do, but it is open-ended and providing flexibility to both the applicant and the city to find something acceptable that also works with the site configuration. So a proposed addition could be something to the effect of, after the initial statement about queuing capacity and or traffic mitigation or traffic control measures to mitigate the high capacity impacts, something to that effect.
I can support that language.
Is it? Okay, any further discussion? Open it up for a motion.
Well, since I started it,
You got your foot in the middle of it.
I'll try to make the motion, yeah. And let's see here, make sure I get it right. So I will motion to approve CUP 2021 TAC 003 with a modification to item 21 to include mitigating traffic control measures as defined between the applicant and the city.
Second.
If I can ask the attorney, is that acceptable?
Yes, I believe it is, as long as it makes sense to staff, what is being asked. Though I'd ask clarification from Commissioner Bedstead. Can you repeat the very last portion of your proposed amendment, the part that related to what appeared to be staff and the applicant working together on that aspect?
Yes, sure, I'd be happy to. So I'll even editorialize on it more. The motion to approve CUP 2021 TAC 003 with modifications to item 21 for traffic control measures to be implemented subject to cooperation between city staff and the applicant. And I'll go further to say including but not limited to the entity occupying the space self-policing the traffic flow.
That is a specific and understandable amendment.
Okay. Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
Call for the vote.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Bedstead and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve conditional use permit 2021-003 by modifying condition 21 to add mitigations related to traffic control measures per the description on record by Commissioner Bedstead. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes. Commissioner
Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item C, conditional use permit 2021-004. Open for discussion.
Any discussion? I'll make a new motion.
See no discussion, we're open for a motion.
Here we go. Make a motion to approve CUP 2021 TAC 004, and that is with the modification of item 21 to include traffic control measures as coordinated between city staff and the applicant, to include but not limited to self-policing by the entity which occupies the space in the future.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Bedstead and seconded by Commissioner Antuna to approve conditional use permit 2021-004 by modifying condition 21 to add traffic control measures as described on the record by Commissioner Bedstead. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
And Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, is there any old business that needs to be discussed? Is there any new business
Two items really quick. I mentioned to Ricky, I think the staff needs to look into talking to Hobby Lobby about their landscaping in the front that's completely dead. They've been there quite a while, and they really should kind of spruce that up a bit or rip out the old stuff, do something to make it look nicer. And my second concern is, since we talked about the queuing tonight, is there any follow-up that we need to do with either Dutch Brothers or In-N-Out, given how their queuing is currently being handled? Because I know In-N-Out, it snakes around about 7 buildings over there, it seems like. So I don't know, that's a question to staff, but is that something that we need to look at, or have you guys addressed that?
Yeah, we can definitely reach out to Hobby Lobby and the management company there to address the landscaping. There are other areas in the city too. The city is going to collectively reach out to, and one of them being the Walmart on Shaw Avenue too, as well. More specifically next to Sonic and Burger King, their landscaping there as well. So yes, we will be reaching out in writing to those folks. Now, in pertaining to In-N-Out, we would do more research on that and see what. I know that the drive-through has evolved over the years since that use has been approved there, and I know at least in one occasion, traffic has not only wrapped around the Clovis Unified Building, but actually out to Clovis Avenue. So we'll look more into that.
They designed it really well, but it's excessive.
Yeah, we'll reach out to our city engineer as well.
Okay. Anything else need to be discussed under new business? Then we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:45.